Because it works. Oh, God, because it works.
Okay.
I've created 1 trillion, Jesus Christ. See, that's why Poland and these countries are poor, and they're going to stay poor. And it's a fucking lie to tell them any different.
Okay.
You have a peasant mentality here. Familia is everything, okay? You can't trust anybody else. Because just because Dan Peña says you can beat Tyson doesn't mean you can beat Tyson. Because like he says, everybody has a plan until I punch him in the face. What does that say on the cover?
On the cover, your first 100 millions. Like the English version, like the original one.
Well, I look happy there.
Yes, because I think that you are a happy guy.
I look happy there. That's funny. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
What questions?
My name is Barnaba. I am the originator and
Barnaba.
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 Yes, that's my name. Not often.
Is that your first or second name?
It's my first name. The second is Frederick.
Okay, we'll stick with the first.
Yes, I am the originator of the idea publishing your book here in Poland, and together with Marcin, we publish your book. It's happened somehow unexpected for me. When I was an employee working for corporation, then I listened many business podcasts, and in many of them, your ideas was presented by the other guys, by the other people, and this influenced on me. And then after running my bookstore, I decided to publish first book, and the first person came to my mind, it was you.
So you had a bookstore?
I have a bookstore, and then I switched to publishing the books. Why I'm giving these few words is just to give you some kind of a example of my journey. It's, from my perspective, a big journey from my own world. So it's a honor to be here and to ask you some questions. You many times say that the poverty we take from our home, poverty we take from our fathers and our family.
The feeling, we don't take the poverty, the feeling, the emotions.
The emotions, poverty. Yes, this is what I have behind this. So the question is how you fight with your emotions regarding poverty. What was your way to do that? The question is it some recipe for the people to fight, to remove this
There's
poverty
an absolute 100%,
mindset?
100% success recipe.
100% success.
Success. In other words, if you do this, we are a product of our social and economic milieu, social and economic background. Yes. We're products of that. Yeah. I left my family. Yes. And I went into the military. And the military made, they used to say a man of me, but straightened me out, where gave me focus other than getting in trouble. Somebody asked me a long time ago, every morning you got up, Mr. Peña, did you think of something bad to do? Yes. What can I do? Burn the school down? You know, there used to be little guys on campus when I'm in grade school. I was the biggest kid in grade school. I wasn't the biggest in high school, but I grew fast. And so the little kids would come and the bullies would come and try to, so I would beat up the bullies for the little kids. So I knew every day I knew I could get in a fight easy. All I would have to do is, hey, Johnny, come here. You stand by me, I'll protect you. But I knew young, that's what does not kill me makes me stronger. I didn't know that Machiavelli said that, but I knew. And so I got in a lot of fights. I just did. And I was always in trouble. But when I got old enough to leave home, I did. And so when I was 19, 20, I volunteered to go in the military, where I had no family there. I volunteered to stay extra to be an officer. And by the time I got back, I was already in my mid-20s. And the family had all gone their own separate ways. And I went back to school. And there were different people there, but I was on a mission to get out of school as fast as I could and then go to where the action was. And the action at that time was Wall Street, selling securities, bonds, etc. But it's not easy. And certain family ethnicities, like my family's Mexican. My mother was an illegal alien. She came illegally in 1924 to America. Familia is everything, okay? You can't trust anybody else. And they go to the park and have picnics and, whatever you can do for free. You have no money. And I didn't want that. I didn't need the support of my family. But I had self-confidence since I'm little. I had self-esteem since I'm little. And I got that from my father. My father was there's no other way to describe it as a mean fucker. He was a bad motherfucker. I mean, he just was. Yeah. And I mean, and then when I got older, I realized that he supposedly was a hitman for the CIA and killed people. I was not surprised when I found that out. I mean, all you had to do was sit with him. If we're having dinner, my dad, you, my mom, and the table next door is making too much noise, normally you just socially accept it, right? Yes. Not him. Okay. He gets up, and he always carried two guns. One gun he carried on his hip, so he'd make sure that whether he was wearing a jacket like this, or he always made sure that you could see his gun. He'd walk over and he'd, not so politely, you're interfering with our dinner. Shut the fuck up, or I'll come back and I'll shut you the fuck up.
So she knows how to solve the problems.
Yeah. And then he'd go back, and my mother would say, Manny, you're embarrassing us. And I'd say, Mom, I'm not embarrassed. And you'd say nothing. You just sit there. And so that's how I was raised. And today, I mean, just recently in New York, an old woman was raped, and there were 70 people on the subway, and nobody helped her, and almost all of them took a picture with their iPhone. So we're take a picture with their iPhone society now instead of helping the old lady getting raped.
But this is the whole society.
I know it's not
how
just
it's made the message from the TV and so
yeah,
on.
well, we've gotten softer and softer.
Yes, so
less soft in Russia.
Yes. I think that this is the same area, but my question is about the discipline, because you often say that discipline is a key to the success, nothing more than the discipline. But it's not easy to develop the discipline inside you if you don't have it. So again, is it?
Well, it starts with the family, okay? But no, it's not just discipline. It's discipline with accountability. Accountability. In other words, you're measuring, are you doing it or aren't you doing it? Okay? Well, in my book, there's a picture of one of my report cards that I got from the school. And I think I'm about 8 or 9 years old. And they used to list you by A, B, C, D, and then they list you unsatisfactory or satisfactory, your actions. Almost all mine are unsatisfactory. I was telling teachers to fuck off when I'm 6 years old, okay? And then I'd get beaten by the teacher, and then they'd call my parents to come and collect me, take me home. Because I didn't know then that it's like our high school teacher, the principal of the high school I went to, my wife and I give scholarships to, she said, we didn't know how to interact or treat gifted children then. Now, nobody ever called me gifted. They all called me a moron, idiot, criminal, okay? But I was gifted. I was super smart, but they didn't know how to treat super smart kids. So, but it's not just discipline. You know, you got a kid, you got to be home by 10 o'clock. Yes. Then the kid comes out, rolls through the door at 1 o'clock drunk. Now, how do you make him accountable? How do you make him accountable? What do you do? Now, in my case, my dad had beat the shit out of me. So it was less likely for me to roll in the door at 2 o'clock drunk. Okay, I had a curfew when I was 18 years old. I had to be home by 10. I'm 18 years old. If I'm not home by 10, I get the shit beat out of me. And if I'm drunk, I get a double shit beaten. And so now maybe it would take me a while for me to forget getting beat. And so, but my dad made me accountable. He made me pay the price. What sacrifice was I willing to make to not get beat up? Or what sacrifice was I willing to make for my friends? Hey, come on, Danny, come on. Your dad, maybe you'll sneak by him tonight. You know, maybe he won't get you. But nobody's willing to do that. Nobody confronts their children now. And now if you hit your kid, you go to jail. You can't beat kids now. The whole system is been turned upside down.
the system switched, that the child belongs to the society, not to the parents. Some people says that I promote the violence.
You.
Yes, somehow me, but by promoting your book, publishing and promoting your book.
Huh? That's interesting.
Yes. And this is question to you, because your language somehow is by, I think that the main of the questions about that was from the women's. They think that you are offensive, that they think that you promote the violence. So this is an understanding.
No.
How is your behavior received by the people? So the question is then, why you are using this?
Because it works.
Oh
God, because it works.
Okay.
I've created $1 trillion. Jesus Christ. See, that's why Poland and these countries are poor, and they're going to stay poor. And it's a fucking lie to tell them any different.
Okay.
You have a peasant mentality here.
So it's everything about to do something, yes?
You either do it or you don't do it.
Yes.
Okay? That's bullshit. I mean, the billionaire women that I've made don't think my language is offensive. I'm in a lawsuit, which is over now. I won the lawsuit. The woman was being on the stand testifying. Okay. And they show a picture of me in a video, and I'm saying, you worthless cunt. I mean, why don't you stand up and like you had a pair of balls? I'm telling the woman this on the video. And so they show it to my witness. And Rebecca says, so their lawyer asks Rebecca, well, isn't that offensive? Isn't that anti-feminist, and et cetera, et cetera? She goes, no. I'm surprised you showed me that. When I met Mr. Peña, I was making $200,000 a year. Now I make $10 million a year. How can anything he could ever say to me be offensive?
I think that the people somehow asking that question, and you say that it's you make the money due to that kind of movie.
Because of that.
Yes. But the people maybe don't need so much money. They
Well,
rather
then,
to live in the
well, then
nice
I'm the wrong
attitude.
person to listen to. I'm the wrong person to read the book.
Okay.
I mean, Elon Musk, when he took over Twitter, which is now X,
Yes.
the call centers that he had in India, he fired 95% of everybody. And my wife and I used to own call centers in India. So we understand. And and 10% of the people are doing 100% of the work.
Like almost always. Fearing failure. This is the stop to fearing failure. This is the main idea to develop yourself according to what you wrote in the book. So what is your biggest failure and why it was helpful for you?
I could write a book 1,000 pages long of the things that I fucked up, failed at, and did wrong.
Asking for the one iconic failure, what is your biggest one?
Okay,
what do you think?
I had the chance to have the franchise for Microsoft in Canada.
Okay.
I didn't do it. I had the chance to have the franchise for Nike tennis shoes in Canada, and I didn't do it. I had the chance to be one of the original shareholders of Worldwide Wrestling, you know, the one that, okay, I didn't do it.
Okay.
I can go on and on and on.
Many frogs to be touched.
Yeah, well, you got to kiss a lot of frogs, and one of them is going to be a prince or a princess, depending on your persuasion. But I didn't understand Microsoft and what it did. I'm not sure I understand now. I didn't understand. I didn't think people were stupid enough to watch Worldwide Wrestling. You can't be that stupid. And okay, I thought running was a phase, a fad. The people would get tired of running. I had a reason for all of them, and I made a decision just like I'm talking to you now. No, I didn't do studies and research papers. I either like it or I don't like it. In that regard, I'm not trying to say that I'm like Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett either understands it and likes it or he doesn't. Next. And almost all the super high-performance people that I've had the privilege of being around, the same. They either understand it, like it, or next. Okay, and there's been a lot of them. You know, I can't count up the trillions that I could have, but but probably the biggest mistake I ever made is when I decided to coach. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought people were more like me. They had self-confidence. They believed in themselves. They had self-esteem. I thought, because when I started in 1993, May 1993, I thought I would create $1 trillion by 2000. I thought it was a lark. I was having fun. I didn't keep records. And 2000 came and went, and I was nowhere near $1 trillion. But I stayed, and in 2017, when I crossed over the $1 trillion mark, okay, it's 2017.
Okay.
But I had to create a whole generation of people. I had to create self-esteem in people. I've trained championship basketball teams. I've trained championship rugby teams. I've trained championship, M&A fighters. And basically what I'm doing is I'm building the self-esteem. And when I first started coaching, shortly thereafter, Tyson came back into the picture after being in jail, and I trained some of the guys that he knocked out, because just because Dan Peña says you can beat Tyson doesn't mean you can beat Tyson, because like he says, everybody has a plan until I punch him in the face, and then their plan disappears. But I mean but some people want it and some people don't. Elon Musk, who wasn't poverty-stricken as a youth, he came from a well-to-do family, but he wanted to prove, he wanted to change the world somehow, and he has, for sure. But rockets that you can use again, take up and come down and take up again, Boeing knew that 40 years before. Yes. But obviously, if you did it that way, you sell less rockets to the government.
Yes.
And so that's why the big aerospace companies didn't do it.
Yeah.
But that really, people follow what's in the book. There's no competition out there. Okay. There just isn't. Okay. There is no competition. And what else?
Time is ticking, so I just need to finish the last short question. Your energy and intensity are legendary. How do you keep so high level of testosterone?
I don't drink as much as I've gotten older. I still drink by normal standards. I still drink a lot, but I mean not
normal
like
standard like in the UK or like in the Polish?
No. Here, I drank. I was easy. The people I was with, I easily drank as much as they did, if not more. And these are Polish people. Your body as you get older, and I'm in good shape.
Yes.
I'm in terrific shape. I'm not just in good shape. Your body doesn't assimilate it as well as you get older. Okay, I haven't had a hangover in a long time, probably maybe 5 or 6 years. But it took me longer to get over that hangover, to get the blood out of the alcohol out of my system than it did earlier. But my next birthday will be 80, and I also, hang's the wrong word. I have energetic people that I spend time with that have high. Nobody has the same energy level I do, but I've got a couple of young kids in their late 30s, early 40s that are like fireballs. They can hardly sit still. They can't wait to get on the next project, to finish this project, to start a new project. But there's fewer and fewer of those kids now. And, I didn't know that what chilling was about 4 or 5 years ago. My wife and I were on the Orient Express, a great trip ride, expensive but great. And we stopped in a town in Italy for a couple hours to sightsee. And so we took a hike up the mountain to the top where they had a bar in the Roman ruins, etc. And so we're about 30, 35 minutes. We're sitting there. I didn't really notice the view's beautiful. I'm thinking about the Romans being there. And then Sally says, I think we're chilling. I go, what do you mean? We've been sitting here 35 minutes and nobody's asked us for a drink yet. So I immediately jumped out of my chair and I ran up to the bartender and I'm started yelling and screaming at them. And then we had a drink in 4 or 5 minutes. But I don't chill or relax on purpose. This boat trip we took for a week through the Mediterranean with my kid brother and some of my longest time friends. I only worked on the computer maybe an hour and a half a day while we sat back in the sun and, had drinks. But I enjoy it. I'm a transaction junkie. I like doing deals. I don't like any particular industry, although I come out of oil and gas and I come out of finance. I don't necessarily like finance or oil and gas, but I like doing deals. I like getting me to get you to do what you don't want to do when I want you to do it.
Okay.
That's exhilarating to me. And I've enjoyed, and dealing with the Catholic Church is not easy. They think they've got the model. They've been around 2,000 years, but I've broken into that the last 15, 20 years. And I've got, I won't say I have influence, but a couple of the people that I deal with are extremely influential. Had the ear of the Polish Pope, John Paul, and has the ear of the current Pope. And she and I are not business partners, but partners in doing projects for the church. And getting the church to change their mind is almost impossible. And even though we've gotten them to change their mind in a good way, they're 1,000 years behind the times in some of the stuff they do, I'm not going to get into celibacy of priests and all that. That's, I'm not trying to fight that battle. 'Cause I won't live long enough to fight that battle. But, I mean, some of the things they do are just like out of the Stone Age. And but the fact that I'm able to put my money where my mouth is helps. I'm sure if I was just some guy that washed cars in a car wash trying to get some of the stuff that we've gotten them to do, I'd have no success. But I help them along to make more modern decisions. But for the kids, I mean, the book is a template. But the book and my free stuff on my website, if you use it together in conjunction, I mean, I don't like to use the word because it's not popular enough. It's a license to steal, legally. It's a license to bloody steal. You use the book and all the stuff that's in the on the website. I mean, if you really want it.
Yes, I know.
But you got to want it.
Yeah.
You got to want it. But this, Poland. After the wall fell, the two countries that I was most successful were the Czech Republic and Poland. Okay. And we had success other places, but not as much success as we had here. And I believe part of the success here is because a lot of Polish people got to speak English.
Yeah.
I won't say everybody speaks English, but almost everybody spees English. A lot of people speak English.
A lot of people speak, but a lot of not.
Yeah.
It's not a common way here.
Yeah.
We was teach Russian in the past. Since some years.
But this model has worked in Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, we did roll-ups in Moscow, St. Petersburg, a few other places. But there's something hard about, not now, but when the wall first fell, there was something hard about the former Eastern Bloc countries that didn't exist other places. I mean, and it was the Russian influence.
Yeah.
Okay, there was something hard, but much of that hardness has disappeared, has evaporated.
Yeah. Okay, if you want to be on time in the university, we need to finish. So thank you for your time, the possibility to ask you this question. It was a honor to be here and ask you some questions.
Well, thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
Very good.